on. Welcome everybody to another meeting of the Pirate National Committee. This will actually not be a formal meeting because we do not have a quorum. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to have an informal discussion session, and we are going to just chat about agenda items, things we want to do in the future, try to incorporate anyone watching at home into the process, and just the board just wants to talk for a bit because we want to do that at least every week, regardless of whether or not we're having a meeting. We think that's it's good to do. We like transparency around here. It's kind of one of our things, if you didn't know. I am Anthony J. I'm from Indiana. I am the provisional director of the Indiana Pirate Party, but I'm also the chair of the Pirate National Committee. Just for the sake of the viewers at home, do we want to give IDs? Anyone who wants to go can go.
Yeah, sure. While my internet is working, hi, I'm Yari, aka Rose Klein. I am the provisional chair of California, and I'm here as the secretary of the U.S. Pirate Party as well.
All right. Mitch, Joe, you want to give?
Sure, I am Mitch DeVilla of the Illinois chapter, or the Chicagoland chapter, the Illinois chapter of the United States Pirate Party.
Can anyone else hear Mitch? Okay, I think he's a little quiet.
No,
I got it.
I had something in my throat. That's why I sounded all fucked up just now.
Okay. I might just.
It was Dr.
Have
Pepper.
him quiet, maybe. Let me.
I also apologize for swearing. I probably should do that. That being said, I am also the swarm care manager of this fine establishment, this cooperative of pirates.
We are actually a cooperative, which is what makes that statement quite amusing.
Hi, I'm Joseph Honorable.
Oh, Joe, go.
I had to get rid of a child that was most upset with being put down tonight.
Oh.
I'm Joseph Honorowski. I hail from Massachusetts and am their official representative. I am also the treasurer and general pain in the ass of most people in my life.
I wouldn't say that, but I like the confidence.
First I've heard.
The more you know.
There we go.
So yeah, we're having an informal discussion session because we don't want to leave anybody without hearing the board speak for a week because we think that's a little cringe, as the kids say. What do we want to talk about?
If I may.
Please.
Go ahead.
Executive Order 14067.
Tell us about it.
So it's the executive order where they are trying to lock down on cryptocurrency for all the usual hashtags of pirating and thieves and crooks and pirates and thieves, oh my. But really what it is they're just trying to rein in control of money that they can't reach, so they can just turn it off at a whim's notice.
What did you say the number was? 14067?
Yes.
Yes. So that's a particular executive order, which, I couldn't see a way in which the government could mess this up. Started talking about this earlier, and on the Massachusetts chapter. And we actually, one small news, we do have an official place for Massachusetts to start meeting right here in Lowell. So that's nice. But we briefly touched upon it during our video pirate news. And I was hoping to discuss it in more detail, seeing that this is a national issue. And it would be something that this council should look up and take seriously.
That being said, I just haven't heard of this before. I don't know. Maybe that's negligence on my part. I don't know. But I don't necessarily want to.
I haven't either. I'm looking it up right now.
Speak on anything that I don't know anything about. So I think, Joe, how about we just let you have your soapbox and you can talk about it, because I don't want to start going off until I have more information.
The only reason why I didn't bring it up in a formal setting is because I just found out about it recently, and so I am totally fine with us just putting this for the docket for next week. but we should definitely not let this slip by because they're coming after crypto pretty hard.
Fair enough. I will look into it. Absolutely. I know. What's everyone's feelings on crypto in general? Because I've heard, I think, multiple, like, the same member of this party say, like, different things about it before, and I think that goes for multiple of you.
My thoughts on it have changed
Yeah.
dramatically over the course of. I think my thoughts keep going like all I don't know. Every time I learn something new about crypto,
Something changes.
my thoughts change. Yeah, because it's not called waffling, it's called learning, folks. It's called learning.
It's
called learning.
It's called bettering your position with new information.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the idea of crypto. I just don't like what it's become. That's kind of what my stance is. That's just sort of the brief version of it. You know?
Yeah. It's having. I think my ideal version of currency is one in which the state is not able to really control things. So that, in that sense, yay crypto, but in the sense of congratulations, we've replaced the state with, a big group of alt-right, basically stock managers, not yay crypto. So like, I think my ideal version is sort of like, local currencies and other such things.
Congratulations, everybody. We've replaced the government with a bunch of people who want to build Epstein Island 2.0.
Right. It's not. So, I'm down for not a federal currency, but I don't think this is the. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I
Yes.
fully
Yeah.
understand that. That's
Yeah.
really where I'm at.
Yeah. So that's me. I think, right, and this is where I think. This is where I think what's fun about personally, and it's like someone who has been over the past months learning to fully embrace my anarchist streak.
Some
This
people
is
in the party that will be very happy with you about that.
Oh yeah, no, I know, that's great. This has been, I think, one of the things where I kind of go like, most people. I think what's fun is that most people I know have an anarchist streak. It's just a question of how much.
Yes.
How much hope that it's just a question of how much hope they have of it working out. It's just a question of how much. I think for most people, it's just a question of how much they believe it is feasible.
I'm going to stop you right there because Kelly Modus in chat said crypto is not the way to go. And I'm interested in their opinions. Is it?
Yeah, me too.
Is it anything different than what we've said, or do you have different things that you want to bring to the table? Because we've said that we like it in theory, but have issues with it in practice. Like, do you have a different opinion? Like, please talk to us. We're here to talk.
Yeah, I want to hear it. I want to learn things. I'm here. That's all I'm here for. I'm here to learn things.
True that. I'm all for education. That's also something I really like. So we're being very pirate today. We're talking about transparency, decentralization, education. We could hit all the spokes of the pirate wheel tonight if we really wanted to.
We could. Okay, so actually, this is interesting. Now, Yeah, I don't know. I have a couple things that could take us completely off track, but actually, I'm not going to do that. So because I want to also hear what Kellyar has to say, fudge cakes. I think it was actually Keljar.
It might have been Killjar. Yeah,
They, they definitely told us how to pronounce it last time.
absolutely.
Uh, um, 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 uh, um, But no, I think in the sense of Joe, thank you for bringing up the executive order because I think this is really interesting. In the sense of what we have here, right, is a classic thing, right, of a sort of a de uh, this deconstruction of institutional power or an attempt at it, and then it's immediately co-opted by corporations, and then an attempt to control it is made by the government. And it's like, this is a microcosm of every historical play-by-play.
It just is everything. Like it's a great example of everything.
It's very amusing to me in that sense. It's yeah. That's all I got.
No, I do find it really funny, and I think you're onto something here.
It's my grand theory of history.
All right, Kildra said we do need to end the corporate monopolies. Absolutely. That's another thing we're all about. Man, we're being so piratey today. Actually, can I delve into that gives me a thought, but I don't know if I want to defend it. I just want to see if someone else can riff off of it.
Please.
Kildra said we need to end the corporate monopolies, and I think we all agree here. It's something that's come up in the discussions I've been having lately with a lot of libertarians, and not so much our libertarian friends who joined the Pirate Party, but while we've been on podcasts and all that other stuff, is the idea that libertarians also like the fact that we want to end monopolies because they want to end monopolies too, but the way we each want to go about it is a bit different, right? If you ask a libertarian, they'll say, "Great, we believe that too," because without the government stranglehold on the economy, then the free market will end monopolies. I think us pirates usually have a bit more of a nuanced take on how we should end monopolies. So I just want to know if anyone wants to pick that up and run with it.
Yeah, I really like what Pennsylvania has in their positions statement. Honestly, it's my new favorite take on this, which is it's I can't remember how Drew phrased it. It was something like
death penalty or something else.
Yeah, it was the corporate death penalty. The corporate death penalty, which is brilliant. The idea of if a corporation does, I can't remember exactly how it's phrased. I can pull it up. In fact, I should.
I've got the PA Pirates website pulled up right now. Let me get to the platform.
Yeah, it's something like if a corporation does wrong in certain ways, then they are immediately seized and turned into a cooperative. They're liquidated and turned into a cooperative.
I mean, I'm not against all corporations because if you think about it, most towns are incorporated.
Yeah, I guess that's probably more semantics, though.
Yeah, no, kind of. With towns, there's accountability. So I am all about piercing the corporate veil, having that financial and liability shield, say Monsanto's, you know,
Yeah.
as one shining example, or even Walmart or Amazon, you know, where they're going in and crushing
Yeah.
literally everybody.
Yeah. Oh boy,
You
you
know,
could get me. If we talk about Amazon, I could talk about Amazon a lot. I don't know if I have it in me tonight, but just
I
know
mean,
I used to work in one of the warehouses. So
may I say a point though to
fun,
libertarians real quick
yeah, you
before
can
we
say a point to
continue this thought?
libertarians. Yeah.
You have to remember that the libertarians had their town. They libertarians, like so many other political ideas, have actually had their day, and they have failed. Granted, it was only once, and maybe hashtag that wasn't real libertarianism, but is literally a town that was taken over by bears. Okay? This actually happened. This was a thing. Libertarians to its result means no one takes responsibility, and it's not.
And your town gets
A,
taken over by bears.
I can get you
Yeah,
resources.
yeah. Can you get us the sources so we can put them in chat? I don't want us to get in trouble.
I mean, I
Not that I don't believe
Mitch,
you. I just
please,
want to make sure that
Mitch,
we,
please.
Mitch, come on, you can talk.
I just wanted to say that I can reliably back up Joe's story. He is telling the truth. Harrington was in fact taken over by bears. I just wanted to say that we need to end the corporate model. I think I've fallen in love with the guild system. Just having professionals in their craft running their craft, and going back to cooperatives and making sure workers run all the businesses and that craft.
Co-ops for everything. Yes.
Everything should be a co-op and everything should be a guild. And I swear to
Yeah.
God, just society can be better. I believe in a better society.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Mitch, your guild fascination is recent, isn't it?
You know what? It's because I accidentally invented the guild.
Accidentally reinvented the guild.
And then I realized, oh shit, it's a real thing, and it's dope
Can
as
someone
fuck.
DM me Joe's link on Discord so I can post it in the chat?
I'm gonna.
Yep, I got you.
But basically, just the idea that you could train in your field and actually learn on the job, hands experience of professionals in that field. It's as someone who trained to become a part of the wrestling business, the professional wrestling business, trained by professionals in that business, and these professionals said, "You're good to go. Welcome to the business." It's just something that should work for everything everywhere, and everything should be a co-op.
Yeah, it's how a lot of
guild is just a professional, like, organized co-op in a sense. Listen, just let's get collaborative, people. Participatory democracy is the way to go. We must be a collective.
Yeah.
I will
That's
say
the original pirate democracy. We have a rich history. Everyone who's ever claimed to be a pirate.
I will say actually, because this is important. I was talking to Mitch about it. I mean, the only reason why like communication school or like media school is even like a good idea at all is because you go and you get connections and you like get mentored by people one-on-one a lot of the time, right? That is
It's a guild.
essentially the entire reason. It's kind of a guild. That's what I'm trying to say. Those are like the entire reasons why I'm like in school trying to get a PR degree right now. Like those are the benefits that you get out of it. So honestly, I think that it would probably benefit that field more if it was structured more that way, so it didn't feel pressured to conform to like the like science model of post-secondary school where it doesn't shine. There's a reason why a lot of people get the degree I'm getting, they kind of regret it, right? Because they're spending a lot of this money and they were told that the main thing to do is like take these classes when really the benefits you get is all the stuff you do outside of the classes, meeting your professors, talking to them, talking about their projects, getting feedback on yours. And that's really where the benefit comes in. So, yeah, I can see how this would benefit what I do for sure. I'm not saying to make everything a guild, but I would be very down with making my profession a guild at least.
A guild or co-op honestly. And Joe, here's what I'll say. Like, I get the towns are incorporated, but just make them a co-op. Why can't towns be a co-op? I think it makes sense.
I mean, in a lot of ways, that's essentially
convincing reason.
We're talking about syntax now. So, what point did corporations go wrong? Is a better question. Because corporations were just a co-op essentially at first, and then they became something more. So I'm interested to see where the history of where it went from townships to what we got for corporations now, and if there needs to be a distinction. Because in order to become a corporation, you have to go.
Mitch has got me. Mitch got me on this.
So,
I got.
The spirit of Henry George is thriving right now, because town co-ops can easily manifest itself on a tax code of a land value easily.
That's true.
You use the land, you pay for a tax of the land that you're using, and there is enough to run a society on a land value tax. That's my simple answer. I'm gushing at the prospect of LVT once again.
To answer your question more directly, Joe, I would say managerial structure, shareholders. That's it. Those are the things that co-ops don't have, right? The shareholders are the workers, right? So they effectively don't have shareholders because the shareholders are the people. Like it's got that base in it. The managerial structure doesn't exist because it's the workers. By definition.
I got a question for you, seeing that we're keeping.
Well, okay, yeah, I know, but like the self-managing.
But no, I have a question for you, which is slightly off topic, but it's something that I've been begging to ask, and now that we're all just here today, do you all agree that we should be both simpling the tax code and simplifying law itself so that everyone understand the law and just get it, instead of having everything so complicated?
I think you're cutting out a bit, but I mean, yeah, absolutely. I think we should simplify the tax code. It's crazy that we still have to do all of this stuff. Oh, we lost Joe. Joe's back. But yeah, it's crazy that we have to do all of this stuff. The process of even doing your taxes is so complicated, right? We have the resources, we have the ability to make that process simpler, and we have the ability to make everything simpler. I think that and it's time that we do it, because it's crazy that to sound a little bit more libertarian for a second, it's crazy that the government wants your money so bad, but they won't make the process easy so you can give it to them, and I want to give them my money. That's where my non-libertarian side comes in. Well, don't make it so difficult for me to give you my money.
But I don't want to give half either. 7% seems like a good percentage, maybe even 4%.
No. You know why that happens, AJ?
Yeah, go on.
It's because of lobbying.
Yeah.
If I may,
you're right. Yes,
not only should we simplify the tax code, but we should tell TurboTax to get around. The reason that the government just doing our taxes for us is because TurboTax lobbies a shit ton in order for them to not make laws that make taxes automatically done for the people. So my official position is TurboTax can shove it.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great official position.
My official position is TurboTax can shove it.
I love that. Official position is TurboTax can shove it. I'm gonna quote you on that, Mitch. I'm gonna frame that, do a cross stitch and just frame it. My official position is TurboTax can shove it. Mitch DeVillo. God, that's so good.
If I look for any quote, I hope it's that one.
I will make sure it is so. That's really good. Yeah. Yeah. Completely agreed.
We also need to talk about cutting taxes for the working people because every time we talk about tax cuts in this country, it is for the richest of the rich, and the working class tend to not get tax cuts. The tax burden on the working class has to be reduced. It can't.
I love
I am not saying we shouldn't pay taxes because taxes are an unavoidable part of life. I am saying that taxes on the common folk are too much, too high. People will have the ability to spend more money if they have more money.
I want to hit you on two things here, right? All right. So thing one. This reminds me immediately of there's a Warren Buffett piece where Warren Buffett actually, I mean, he doesn't beg for more taxes, but he does say, "Hey, tax billionaires more," which I think is fucking hilarious, especially because he doesn't pay his workers enough. Okay. Two. So that's really funny. Okay. So two. Saying taxes, I hate the phrase that, like, there are two certainties in life, death and taxes. And no. Like,
that's right. I'm gonna live forever if I have a whole stick of tuna.
I mean, okay, Joe, you think I'm fucking joking. But here's the thing.
Oh, Yari is starting to sound like really libertarian right now. This kind of came out of nowhere.
Look. Okay, AJ, first off, I don't subscribe to any political ideology. Second, the libertarians do have some things right? It's we can pick and choose, we can mix and match. This is pirates.
I'm just messing with you. With you because usually you feel like probably one of the people furthest away from our more libertarian side.
Fair enough. I'm 100% serious all the time. Okay, so Joe, you think I'm kidding, but, like, here's the thing, right? Like, I mean, there may come a day. Yeah, you and I will probably die sometime in the expected life range, right? Like, 80, something like that, right? But here's the thing, like, life extension is a real thing that's happening. There's research going on about that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the problem that comes with that is, of course, that most of that is going to the uber rich, right? The problem that comes with that is that most of that is going to the uber rich. Okay, that is mostly beside the point, except to say that death is, I hate that we think of it as inevitable because it's not. It is a symptom of other things. Taxes, again, not inevitable. It is a symptom of other things. It is a symptom of the way we structure our government and our culture. And it is a very large part of our institution. But this is why, like, land value tax is so good, because it simplifies so much of that. And also means that, you can, like, shatter some of this off into, like, smaller communities and stuff like that. But, also, frankly, if a community went off on their own and did their own little sustainable thing and was completely...
Can someone send the email link to Rowan? He wants to join, and apparently he doesn't get our recruit emails.
Shoot.
So we're getting Illinois'
I can try.
home care manager in here.
I also would like to motion for the fact that we shouldn't have to raise our hands. If you have something to say, we should just say it.
Oh, there are no motions here. It is a free-for-all. This is
That's
anarchy.
just
Contribute if you want to contribute.
That's just me being all passive.
Anyway, that's that. I think I'm done. I'm done. AJ, do you need me to send that?
Yes, please. I didn't
Okay.
know Mitch converted you to LVT.
Yeah, I'm totally Magoda. Totes Magoats, totally Magodily. Okay, I like Totes Magoats better than totally Magodily. I'm Totes Magoats on LVT.
It's coming to our platform any day now, isn't it? I can't stop.
No, LVT is great. LVT is great.
Not that I don't necessarily want to. It's interesting that we have a lot of.
Rowan, do I have Rowan's email? Is the real question.
I can just copy and paste it to the Discord.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you, Mitch. And then, Mitch, I know you wanted to say something, so you should do that afterwards. Totally Magodally. I don't think Totally Magodally works at all. It's the Magodally part.
Oh yeah. So, question, Yari. It wasn't what I wanted to say, but it did come up during your dying.
During my ramble and rant.
Did that meeting with the candidate of Thousand Oaks, California, really change your life? Because that's like right off the transhumanist playbook. Talking about
No, not at all.
Dying is a product of, our society.
No, not at all.
I thought that Daniel was so influential on you that I'm like, I should really listen to this guy. That's incredible.
No, I mean Daniel was influential on me, but in other ways, no. The thing that Daniel said, which changed the way I think, actually, which was really interesting, had nothing to do with transhumanist ideology. No, I've been reading a few things from transhumanist stuff, literature here and there throughout my time with the Pirates, as well as from other stuff. I learn, right? But no, the thing that Daniel said, which was really interesting, was that it's much more useful and much more interesting to think about organizing people in terms of the watershed they are in than in terms of the political locality that they are in.
In terms of what that thing are in?
Okay.
Watershed.
Continue.
Watershed.
Yeah.
Well, as someone from the Great Lakes region, I can't help but understand. But you're talking about like Cascadia versus Lauritania, something like that, right? Like the watershed, or are you talking about like bioregional area?
Yeah. So if you're in Chicago and you're part of the Chicago, it's the Chicago River, right? Yeah, it is the Chicago River, right?
We do have a Chicago River, but it's just kind of like there.
Yeah, but you're part of the Chicago River watershed. So
I think the Great Lakes watershed is called. I think that's Lauritania, if I'm not mistaken. Where it's.
So that's the larger one, right? So you would think of yourself. You can think of yourself right. So there's nested watersheds, right? But right. So if you were thinking of yourself in the hyperlocal, you would think of yourself in the Chicago River watershed, and then further out, you would think of yourself as part of the Great Lakes watershed, right? As opposed to, and this is why Chicagoland would be thought of as separate, right? It's because you would think of yourself as part of the Great Lakes watershed as opposed to part of the Mississippi watershed, which is where most of Illinois falls.
You know what, Yari, that's fair. I look at the entirety of the southern portion of Lake Michigan and think you all could be Chicagolanders if you wanted to be.
Right.
Culturally speaking, we are probably the most like each other. Once you start getting out of the southern portion of the Lake Michigan area, it stops getting familiar. It starts getting a little different.
So actually, can someone help explain to me why this isn't kind of arbitrary? Because I know when I'm trying to explain my regional home to someone, I do say the Wabash River Valley, but I think that's mostly just because of a cultural thing and the fact that some of the major cities in the area Terre Haute, Indiana, have sort of adopted that term. They've sort of created the geocultural idea of the Wabash Valley. I don't think it's yeah, I kind of get it, but why is this not arbitrary?
So if we want to say it's arbitrary, sure, it's just as arbitrary as the political boundaries that we've created, which influence parts of our identity. That said, in the sense that the watershed is directly related to the types of plant life, the types of animal life, the ways in which those things are moving through the environment, the relation of like the how your I mean, literally, like how water moves through your city, how storms move through, or how storms and water moves through your area. Things that do have an effect on you. In that sense, thinking about and organizing yourself around those lines is while it is I think there's two reasons I like it, right? One of them is that it is sort of this idea of like, hey, let's connect back to the land and to the environment and think about that and focus on that in at least some way. And respect that as part of our social and lived cultural life, which it already is. Like, it's already woven into that fabric there, whether we acknowledge it or not. But I think the second part, right, is a little bit of like, me kind of being like anti-authoritarian, maybe, and kind of being like, you know what, if the state says the boundary is over here, screw that. I want my boundary somewhere else.
So you're suggesting like anarcho-contrarianism?
Maybe a little bit, yeah. Maybe a little bit. But like anarcho-eco-contrarianism, maybe?
What a word. You should write a book on that.
I won't.
I don't know if I'm sold. Like, I don't see why. Like, I understand, but I don't see why that's like.
You don't have to be sold.
Better. I don't know. That's fair enough.
It's something to consider. I think what we decided is that we're at the very least going to think about using it as the method of pirate party organizing for California.
That's interesting. I don't know if see, like, for me, like, I just think that if I'm not using like political boundaries and like state-drawn boundaries, my sort of fallback is always like a cultural boundaries, and you have to be careful with that, or else it turns into like a weird form of pseudo-nationalism.
Well, that's the thing. The watershed boundaries and cultural boundaries often fall along similar lines.
I disagree. I don't think I've noticed, and I know I'm saying that as someone who just said that in my case it does, but because if you look at the actual Wabash River, right, if you pull it up, the area that most people in Indiana and Illinois would call the Wabash Valley is not the entire Wabash River. It's actually more congruent with the Terre Haute, Indiana radio and TV market map. Because those two things have like shaped each other over the years. So while there is a concept of the Wabash Valley that is loosely based on this river, it is far from one-to-one anymore. The cultural boundaries have shifted because cultural boundaries shift and geographical landmarks don't as much. Eventually they will, but so I don't know.
I guess I'm
Ooh, I got another one for you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we can. I'm okay with being on. I don't think I don't think I'm here to convince you, AJ.
Fair enough. And I will not try and unconvince you.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
So, Yeah. So what do you fine folks think about the Just Stop Oil and all the shenanigans that they're pulling?
Ah, yeah. Uh,
I think we might have. We're losing Yari. Is this
yeah, I'm getting a bad connection.
the Van Gogh painting?
Yep.
I just saw that Just Stop Oil is being bankrolled by a oil heiress, baronet. So this just feels like one of those things. Like, I think for lack of a better term, it's a psyop, where if they portray people in a certain type of manner,
No,
they're going to associate these people in the. It's like the idea. Now, I'm not accusing PETA of this, but people have accused PETA
But Peter
of
really
being
feels
a
like one
front
sometimes, doesn't
to
he?
make vegans look bad in order to get people against vegans. And I can't help but think that this is another thing where they're going to where if an oil baroness is funding these people who are ruining pieces of art, it almost feels to me like this is people getting paid to make environmental activists look bad. And that's all I'm
Well,
taking this as. I don't believe that these are real activists. I think this is
no,
absolutely being
Well,
put on. Like,
to be fair, Mitch, you've said similar things about Extinction Rebellion before, but I don't necessarily agree with.
yeah, and I'm sticking with those claims too.
honestly though, like I just sent a link where they're using paint made from oil products, and they're literally using oil to make their protests. So they're either like not fully thinking this through, and all the things that oil actually makes our modern world possible,
Actually, I'm,
or
I'm going to stop you right there. I feel like that's kind of the no,
I think that's the point.
but yeah, but I think that is the point. But I think that's also kind of like the oh, the we should improve society somewhat. Oh, but yet you participate in society. Curious meme, like yeah,
Yeah.
the usage of oil is pretty widespread. It's kind of difficult to get away from. Maybe that's their point. That being said, a lot of activists do some really weird, wacky stuff under the impression that it will do something, when in reality it usually just does absolutely nothing at all. And the justification is always, oh, from a utilitarian standpoint, we have to do something weird and wacky, or else it'll continue. But usually it just continues, and they don't make a dent in anything. So from what I've seen, that it just feels like one of those scenarios. Other than that, I don't really. I haven't paid attention to it.
The point was to get conversations happening. Whatever the secondary point was, the point initially was to get conversations happening, right? And clearly they succeeded at that. I don't know. I think in that sense, the funny thing about eye-grabbing protests is that when they are slightly controversial, they always end up, which any eye-grabbing protest is, they always end up redirecting more attention to the actions and the moral implications of the protest itself more than they do to the subject of the protest, which is always, always, always in cases like this, more morally reprehensible than whatever bullshit the protesters might have done.
Yeah. You're right. That being said, I think a lot of people in politics and activism like try and like fight this uphill battle with like the human condition, where it's like, yeah, we know that this has maybe a chance of starting a conversation, but mostly people are just going to be mad at us, and it's not going to work in our favor. Let's do it anyway because maybe. I do think that's just kind of a bad position to be at. Like, yeah, maybe it's screwed up that we as a society behave in this way when things like that happen, but like, we know that that's the case right now, and if it doesn't work, then like people shouldn't continue to do it. Like it just feels really kind of like pointless and futile in the end.
Can I reframe that for you, AJ?
Sure.
What if they're thinking, I have hope that people will respond positively to this?
But That's dumb.
It feels. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is it feels a little bit like you're projecting.
I don't think I'm projecting. I think that it's clear that the weird and wacky protests don't always work out the way that people want them to, and I think that's something we should learn from.
I think. Okay. What are you thinking of when you say weird and wacky?
I think about like this stuff, like the if Just Stop Oil has done anything else, and I guess it also in this camp, but like the Van Gogh stuff, and then
Sure.
Mitch mentioned like PETA and like all of the other organizations that just go out there and just for attention, just start conversations, and they really, really believe in that. And I'm saying, at some point, you just have to listen to how weirded out broader society is and say, maybe this isn't starting conversations as much as it's just bad PR. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong that makes people feel that way. I'm not making a moral judgment. I'm saying people have to be willing to work with society. You can't like push back against like the entirety of like the entire cultural apparatus of like your country at once and get upset when it doesn't work the way you want to. You have to work with people. You have to meet them where they're at. And I just don't think these sorts of protests do that at all.
Right. It's better to start some sort of mass movement if you can.
Well, I'm just saying you have to meet people where they're at. You can't. This is actually it's something like Mark Rosewater, who works on Magic the Gathering, always harps on when he talks about how he likes to design the game. But it's the whole like he says you can't fight human nature. I think human nature is maybe a bit of a loaded word to say, but the idea is that if people behave in a certain way, if they act in a certain way, if they want to do a certain thing with like your game, is the example he uses, you should go with the flow. You should roll with that. You should try and work with them and work with the tide to achieve your desired goal, right? Like in his example, if people keep misunderstanding a game mechanic he designed, they want to do it a different way, or they have more fun doing it a different way, he changes it. And I'm trying to apply that idea in some abstract sense to the idea of activism.
Sure. So, hi, game designer here. I understand where that's coming from, and that's useful when you're making a game where you're trying to appeal to the least common denominator.
Well, politics is also about appealing to the least.
Not always.
I disagree.
I think that this disagreement, AJ, is at the heart of about 90% of our disagreements, honestly.
That is true. I think you're right about that, yeah.
Yep.
I think that that's my take. That's my opinion. I think that we can't. We
Culture
can't people in multiple ways at once. We have to pick one battle and do it.
That's a different statement.
Goals for something.
That's
in terms of your goals for a movement or a protest or an idea. The message has to be simple, and it has to be inviting or inclusive in some way. Naturally, that doesn't mean that we should, go out and shake the hands with white supremacists all the time and be like, I disagree, but I respect your opinion. No, I just mean when it comes to the general public, we have to work with them where they're at.
Mitch, please.
I would just like to say, just on the subject, without further implying that these are paid bad faith actors, instead of trying to present advice to protesters, because I don't believe these protesters are protesting in good faith. These specific ones, I would like to instead redirect the recommendation of advice towards the people who see these protests and understand that not all protests are happening in good faith. And a lot of these protests are meant to make people of a certain issue look bad. Just because certain people misrepresent an issue
does not mean the issue in its entirety is not important or is a non-issue or is being overblown by a couple of people who make the issue look bad. There are a
That
lot
being
of
said, though, we cannot change the fact that these sorts of events persuade people to think that way about protesters. We can only supply better protests. We can only change their mind. We cannot stop their minds from being influenced by something.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. I am just saying don't let it's the same way where you can't let a bad image of one affect your image of all. Not all protests are going to be created equally. You can't look at a protest that turned out bad and say, well, this is just how every protest is, these fucking climate activists or anything like that. That's the wrong way to look at it. Because climate activists have a actual stake in this. They have a claim in this. But ruining Van Gogh's art. Now, I'm not a materialistic person. I think materialism is a cancer of society. But to ruin Price's artwork that people, do give a shit about, it's probably not a way that is not going to directly fix climate change.
I mean, let's just put this out there. The Van Gogh wasn't ruined. It didn't even need any touch-ups. It had a glaze over it. They looked up that it had the glaze before they did the protest. So it just wiped off, basically. There was some damage to the frame that was done, so they had to fix or replace the frame or something.
You really make my conspiracy wheels turn further to make me think they were paid, because that's I'm sorry, I'm not going to continue.
Look, any protester who's doing a well-informed protest is going to look up the site of their protest before they do it, Mitch.
The fact it was Elaine Getty who was funding this.
No, I mean, sure. I'm not. I that's fair. That's fair. That's fair reasoning. I just don't think that the fact that they looked up the Van Gogh ahead of time is a reason to add to the it was a conspiracy pile.
Mitch, can I actually challenge you? Can I challenge you on how often you threw out the psyop card? Because I don't think I've agreed with you on it once.
You know what, AJ? Just because you're a fool and I'm not doesn't mean anything. Listen.
Wow.
If you think psychological operations don't happen on the private sector, now I'm not talking about from our government.
No, I know they
do.
Mitch,
I'm talking about
I am a PR major. My degree is about performing corporate psyops.
Yeah.
So why won't you acknowledge that I'm right?
Because I know how to
This. How would you do climate activist psyops? AJ?
How would I do a climate activist?
Yeah, tell us.
If you were an oil baron, how would you?
Yeah. Money is not an issue. Money is not an issue.
Money is not an issue. Well,
money is not an issue.
I mean, I think the psyop that actually did happen, that they actually did do, is the best example. They just funded and continue to fund a lot of news sources, journalists, etc., that are favorable to their position. They fund climate denialism, all of that stuff. I mean, that's very documented. That's probably exactly what I'd do.
Now,
I think that because here's the thing: it's the simple stuff that works. That's very simple. They don't have to go out in public. They don't have to spend all this money, throwing tomato soup at paintings. They just have to do that, and that's what they've done, and that's what works for them. Same thing with the law enforcement and things like that. All they really have to do is work with politicians that are favorable to crime fear mongering, right? And that's how they get away with things like the military equipment programs. Like that's it's really simple stuff. It's simple stuff. Operation Yellowbird. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm just saying that usually it's very simple stuff, and I don't think it's wise to just throw out, this is a psyop, because even though they do happen, uh,
Yeah, that's a
most of the
state.
stuff that happens
That's
day
a
to day is
state thing.
very.
I think to me, this feels a bit more like. To me, this feels a bit more like the way that oil companies are holding us in a relationship with our use of oil and oil products in our daily lives feels a lot more like the way tobacco companies did and still do have this frankly abusive relationship with the public in terms of their not mismanagement in terms of their misinformation campaigns and false advertising and et cetera, et cetera. Lobbying of governments.
Yeah, can you elaborate on that? Because the cigarette case is also very interesting to me.
Oh, yeah.
No, I know about the cigarette case. I want to know what parallels you draw.
Yeah, okay. I mean, Jonas shared really interesting link. And of course, it's being locked, so I have to go to archive, web archive. So what I'm trying to say is that there's a history, of course, of the big tobacco companies, especially in the years following, leading up to and following the 1964 Surgeon General's report, with a history of really vicious advertising.
You're just drawing the parallel between
Yeah.
corporate PR I just described with oil and the corporate PR that happens
Yeah.
with cigarettes. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know of any. Well, and this is what I was actually just trying to look it up and see if there's anything, but I don't know of any fake counter protests that the tobacco industry did. I don't think there were any.
I don't know any fake counter protests the tobacco industry did, but I do know that one of the ways that big tobacco really got their hook into the American public was when this clever little guy called Edward Bernays decided that he was going to essentially make cigarettes finally popular with women by launching this big, the Torches of Freedom campaign.
Yeah, I love that one. Yeah.
So that involved protesting. So I mean, there's some kind of precedent there. It wasn't like a total psyop. It was a PR person influencing a movement that was already happening and trying to control it.
Right, and right. No, I don't think this is.
See, Mitch, that's what I'm saying. The reason why I don't believe you is because I do read up on this stuff, like, all the time. I know how it works, and I don't really. That's not usually how it works. Sometimes it is how it works, but that's not really usually how it works.
You ever hear of adapt or perish? I feel like society has gotten smarter than society of the 1950s and the 20th century.
No,
Absolutely. Hang on, let me elaborate. Allow me to elaborate on this.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Because while I do think our education system has failed a lot of U.S. citizens, I am not trying to imply anything other than the fact that we now have a device in everyone's pocket that has the history of everything that has ever happened. We have the ability to look up different events of propaganda and deception and different methods that have been used in the past. And it can be presented in front of us. And we have the ability to look at what is or isn't like we recognize nowadays that a commercial is trying to get us to buy something. But why but so that's only going to work now to a point. It's a genius level of marketing to, instead of trying to make a here, let me put it into because we're a political party, let me allow to put it in a very
There we go.
as I was saying, this is something that is personal to me because I live in the state and being directly affected by it. It is a strategy that the Democratic National Committee employed called the Pied Piper strategy, where they're
Okay.
funding money into the Republican candidate that they think will be the easiest to beat. And the Republican candidate that they funneled money into was Darren Bailey. Now, Darren Bailey is out saying the most outlandish, craziest shit on the campaign trail, and the Democrats, all they have to do is, yeah, see how unsensible he is. Just vote for us. We're the sensible party. That is literally what they're running on. They're running on, look how crazy Darren Bailey is. You
Yep.
think in a society where corporate money and politics are tied together as much as they are, they have never been so tied together in this country.
Wait, but hold on.
And
Let me
politics.
stop
You
you
don't
right
think
there.
they're employing the same exact strategy as one another? Darren Bailey is going to be our governor if we allow these tactics to continue. I'm just saying that these tactics are absolutely 100% being employed in the private sector by companies. And I actually find it a little foolish and insulting to think that you wouldn't understand how that how that could possibly
Mitch,
be the case. I
Mitch,
I
can I speak for just a second?
yes.
I hear you. I absolutely hear what you're saying. That like these things are very, I mean, they're very insidious and intense, and they change things in your daily life and in our daily lives. Um, and they're nefarious, and they are out there, and they're happening actively right now. Um, and it sounds like you are actively being hurt by them. Um, and I want to be clear that what I'm saying and what I'm hearing AJ say does not sound like it's meant to be uh, 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 any sort of um, distancing of power, a distancing of ourselves from an understanding of these tactics as having the power to seriously impact the people, the people who matter, such as yourself, such as us. I want to be clear that, like, and honor the fact that you and your community are taking a serious hit from these tactics. And that's what I'm hearing from what you just said. And if you need to take like a second, and if you want, we can like change topics of conversation entirely, as well.
So I'm not going to continue to get as heated as I did for a second. I do apologize for raising my voice. The point I'm simply trying to make is that these are very real tactics in 2022 that are being employed politically, and I just find it a tad bit. I guess the word's naive. I want to say maybe to think that they couldn't possibly be doing this in the private sector where lobbyist companies wouldn't have the type of money to sway these. Now, the point I'm going to make here is in 2021, July of 2021, I was a part of the March for Medicaid for All protests. Now, those protests were happening nationwide. I I am asking you guys to please find me one news article talking about those marches because I just did a quick sweep and I couldn't find any. But there's plenty of news articles which are all working with the same corporate entities to promote a certain image and a certain dialogue, we're all talking about this protest specifically. I am just saying that this doesn't feel like it's just, oh, a random group of protests went wrong because they did an idiotic thing. That there just feels something nefarious going on. And the idea that it couldn't possibly be nefarious because it's not classic marketing tactics just doesn't feel like a logical rationale.
Mitch, can I respond to that quick?
Please.
And then can I respond after?
I would actually like to respond at some point, because I was the person who was saying something that Mitch had an issue with, and I want to actually, first of all, Mitch, I do not mean to discount in any way the experience that you're talking about. I absolutely, I agree with you that is real. It is undisputable, and I'm not saying that something like that could not happen in the corporate sector. I think what I'm saying is that we have to be careful about how we identify actors in these situations when we talk about these sorts of things. And we need to, first of all, we need to try and identify them. We need to talk about what the relationship of power is and actually line all of this stuff out. Or else we do just get into the conspiratorial territory, right? What I will say is that with both the Torches of Freedom example that we talked about with cigarettes and with the example that we're talking about with the Pied Piper strategy, what is happening is that some organization or an entity is backing or working with something that is already going on, right? There's already someone acting in good faith, and someone acting in bad faith is saying, hey, let me help you with that. I think that is absolutely a pattern that we can see observed, and it is very believable to me. If that's what's happening here, then, that would make sense to me, and maybe it is. I don't know if I personally have enough reason to believe that it is, but if that would be your take, I don't think I'd have any issues with it. I can see that happening for sure. What I'm saying is that I just want to make sure that we are being diligent in how we talk about these things and how we sort of, like I said, analyze that map of potential actors, because that's how we distinguish things that are founded from things that are less founded. And again, I forgive you for getting heated, but also I apologize for making you feel sorry. That's actually no. That's not. I'm sorry you feel that way. Apologies. Scratch that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't think at any point we had said, and to clarify, because it sounds like there was a miscommunication here. I don't think at any point we had said that we were discounting that possibility entirely. And if we had, then now I am saying that I am not discounting that possibility. It is a possibility. And the thing I think I want to say here, though, is that, to echo sort of what AJ just said, when these two forces become involved, you have money from the upper echelons, from the upper classes, right? You have money from the wealthy, right, coming in and involving itself with people who are protesting. And at the end of the day, our solidarity needs to be with the protesters. Our solidarity should always be with the protesters. And that means that discussions around these is going to be fraught. Because yes, I am vehemently against the wealthy. You know that, I hope, right? I am vehemently against the wealthy. So obviously, if the wealthy are coming in and funding and changing the priorities of a protest group, yeah, that's a big old problem, right? Until that is conclusively shown, I will still be in solidarity with the protesters because they are usually also acting against other corporate interests and the interests of the state. So, fraught situation. And that's why I think it is not something to just sort of it's fraught.
My turn.
Please.
So I think what you're really speaking to, and the reason why you're feeling so passionate about this, Mitch, and I 100% agree with you, is because this is the definition of what corruption is. It is using your monetary advantage in order to gain political gain and make things one-sided. And I think that's really at the core of what pirates are, is we are bringing our accountability, our transparency, instead of trying to do things in the shadows. One of the core fundamental things that makes this party so drastically different than everybody else is the very fact that it will be very difficult for any one of us to go corrupt, because everything we do is above board. And if this continues to spread, continues to grow, it's going to change fundamentally the way politics are done. And I think that's why I'm so proud to be a part of this, and so proud to be doing what we're doing. And I 100% agree with you. There are definitely some shady characters out there. We're all, like, anyone who's following the Ukraine thing is going, oh, Russia corrupt, like, Ukraine good. But Ukraine is known for its corruption. The West, the U.S., we see corruption every day.
Oh, actually, this might be the first time that I've sounded like some kind of super anarchist on stream. But might I just say, this is the issue with modern nation states. They're always going to be corrupt, and they're always going to act in their own self-interest. There's nothing we can do about that.
No.
That last phrase I disagree with you on. Yeah, thank you, Joe. We can be transparent and we can pressure the state in multiple different ways. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
All right, I'm done with my soapbox. Here.
Sorry, I'm sorry I interrupted. I just.
No, I mean, that was it.
Oh, thank you. And I think that really, Mitch, I'm happy that you got passionate about it. I mean, I'm happy that we all kind of got passionate about it, because that shows that, one, we care, and two, we believe in what we're trying to do here. You know, if we never got passionate while acting in an official capacity, I'd be kind of upset with that.
I really wish that the one time, AJ, there was that one time I got mad at you and I gave this whole big speech, but it wasn't in an actual live stream.
You called me
and I called you a capitalist. I don't think you're a capitalist, for the record. But it was, I really wish it had been live streamed, because then I could have a recording of me calling you a capitalist.
You could have clipped it, and then you could use it if you ever,
out of context.
If you had clipped it, you could have, or maybe I could have clipped it, but I think you should have clipped it. And what you should have done is you should have used that interaction against me. You should have had it so you could have used that against me, trying to talk about now abolishing the chair position. You could make one of those.
We're on to that.
Yeah, one of those dirty campaign videos that's like,
you
may not know this, but you're
agents.
The dirty capitalist.
I can just clip the bit right now where you just adjusted your coat.
It does look very capitalist when I adjust my coat.
It looks more like
Sorry, gotta go.
That's
all right. Thanks for being here, Joe.
Thank you.
Always.
Anyway. Okay. I don't know. No, I'm not going to clip you out of context, AJ.
Thank you.
Yep.
Even for the pursuit of getting rid of the chair position.
It's because of principles. It's not because of you. I'm just going to reiterate that.
Oh, I'm just messing with you.
All right.
Is that something you want to talk about, though?
I could, but I feel like it's a whole discussion, and also it's I will not hesitate to point at the time, and we just lost a person. So I think I'm gonna, if you'll indulge me, motion to adjourn.
Well, no motions are necessary.
I know.
So it's up to what we think. I'm okay to keep going, so Mitch, it's up to you.
Well, I have really nothing to do, but I think I will take Yari's side on this one with time. Only because I do think the chair position would make for a great stream, but we have been on for an hour and a half now.
It's a whole big discussion.
Also,
It's a whole big discussion.
it's going to be a really important discussion because I am now going to triple down on the regional directors. So good luck to you all.
Ooh. Okay. Wait. Tell me. Can you at least define that for me, or do you want to save that for the next one?
What do you mean define it? Like, what do you?
What do you mean by regional directors?
Oh, essentially, we're breaking the captain position into six regional heads. Just
I'll accept that as a friendly amendment. Amazing. Okay.
Sure, we'll have our discussions. I would like to solidify my arguments a little bit more because I know what I want to say, and I feel like I can convince if I can have the right words to say. So I really would like to get my argument more solidified before I come forward with it, which by next week or the week after, whenever we have Jitsi again, I will be happy to lay down the law of the land.
The law of the land.
Wow.
Email me, Mitch. Email me. I wanna talk about this.
It's only the land because it's I've split my captains into regions, so thus the land. Not necessarily what I say goes, but I'm sure by the end of it will.
I'm
I say
curious
that in
because
jest, but also
we
I
have-
hope I can convince you all.
we've got Mitch's idea right. We've got Yari's original idea. I think right now Indiana is leaning more towards Yari's idea. I think I can't quite remember. I think Pennsylvania and Kentucky are like leaning towards some version of either idea. I don't know how Massachusetts feels as a representative, and we might have an observer from New York who is very passionate about talking about why they don't necessarily think it's a good idea. So this is going to be, it'll be an interesting meeting when we sit down to have it.
It'll be an interesting meeting. I wanna talk it out. But I think yeah, it'll be an interesting meeting. I think I'm gonna save bringing it up. Mitch, if it's cool, I want to save bringing it up for Jitsi meetings. So it'll be not next week, but the week after.
Of course.
Yeah.
So yep, that works for me.
Okay, cool. Email me and tell me more about your thoughts on your regional director thing or regional chair or whatever. You're muted.
Hello. I'm gonna try my best to lay it out for you. I
Okay,
will absolutely,
that would be great.
I will not mince words. If you get 4 pages of explanation and rationale, then I'm sorry, but we'll.
That's fine. That's fine. I'm into it. Okay, cool. All right, that's it. I'm leaving.
All right.
Meeting over.
Sounds good. Thank you, everyone, for coming to our informal discussion. We'll probably have another real meeting next week. And if you have any thoughts about anything we talked about here, or you want to know more about that shared dissolution thing, or just you want to talk, hit us up in the Discord. You can find that link on our website, uspirates.org. You can also send one of us an email. I believe the About page has the emails of different officers if you want to talk to one of us directly, or you can just send a request to, which would be the right place to send them, like hello@uspirates?
To
general comment to the board.
Yeah, hello at US Pirates.
Okay. Hello, uspirates.org if you want to send just sort of a general comment to the board. You can also hit us up on Twitter. I believe that's just @uspirates. I want to check that real quick. Yes? Okay.
Board at US Pirates. But I would say just send things generally to hello at US Pirates or info at uspirates.org. Those are the ones I would use.
So those are all of the different ways you can contact us. You can also contact us individually on the Discord or on Twitter. I like to use Twitter. You can find me at AnthonyJ013. That's Anthony spelled normally, JAY013. If you want to ping me, if you want to be mutuals, then you can DM me. There are a couple different ways you can reach me. I'd be fine with any of it. Mitch, Yari, where can they find you if they want to talk to any of you directly?
Oh gosh. I almost never use Twitter, and I should. But I am very, very slowly building a website, but I'm probably not going to do that for another minute or two, actually. So I'm just going to say Discord. Find me on Discord. Discord or I'm not always on Discord, but but I'm on there often enough that if you ping me there, I will see it. On there, or if you have a party question, please email me secretary@uspirates.org.
Oh yeah, you can also email me share@uspirates.org for however long that email continues to.
Yeah, so if you are from Illinois, you can email illinoispirateparty@gmail.com. I'm sorry it's a Gmail. That is just one thing that I will work on in the future, but it's out of my control right now. So, because, Google's anti-pirate, or we're anti-Google, or however you want to frame that.
Bit of both, I think. Bit of both.
Useful.
It's a very antagonistic relationship between the two of us.
Mutually antagonistic. Yeah. Okay.
Also on Twitter at SwarmCareMNGR. You can follow any of the social medias for the Illinois or Chicagoland Pirates. Do not follow the ILPP Pirate. That's the old Twitter account. Follow the ILPP. That is the modern IL Pirates Twitter.
Hey, quick question for y'all. How do we feel about Twitter with the recent deal?
Oh,
I don't want to talk about it.
Owner?
That's what I thought. Okay. Anyway, let's end the stream. I don't know. I don't think I had anything else. This is a reminder to my future self who's watching this that I need to write a guide to anyone in the party about how to de-Googleify things, because I've pretty much successfully done that at this point.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. Any last words? Otherwise, I'm gonna hit the button.
No, hit the button. Vote pirate.
No, I got one.
Oh, okay.
Ethan Osborne, if you were in Kentucky 4, vote for Ethan Osborne. He is the United States Pirate Party endorsed congressional candidate. He is the captain of the Kentucky Pirate Party and an all-around great chap. And in general, vote pirate.
Okay, we're out.